You're listening to 103.5 FM WLSP LP, Sun Prairie, Wisconsin.
¡Viva la raza! I lie, I cheat, I steal. I lie, I cheat, I steal. Yo, mamacita, I got that passion that's lasting long. Los mujeres fall in love with that Latin charm. One woman isn't enough, amigo. Siempre cogiendo más mujeres porque soy Latino. And I'm tougher than tough, calling your bluff, cuz I lie, I cheat, I steal. I lie, I cheat, I steal. Yeah, I don't care if you don't like me. Everybody wants to fight me. Do you feel it, babe? Oye lo claro, I ain't the one you wanna meet. Hay nada más caliente, I'm too hot for you. Yo, Latino heat. Coming from the streets of the ghetto at the end of the week, I get to keep your dinero. You're fast asleep when I sneak in your casa. Your life sucks cause you're bankrupt and I'm laughing. Can't trust me, answer, cause I'm Latin. I lie, I cheat, I steal. Do you feel it? I lie, I cheat, I steal. Yeah, say hello to Eddie, yo.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Schmozcast. I am Anthony in the studio 103.5 The Sun, WSP LP, Sun Prairie, Wisconsin, along with Andre, Aiden, and Chandler. Chandler, how are you doing tonight?
Doing excellent.
Glad to hear it. We'll listen to some Eddie Guerrero, WWF, WWE music, and the reason is he would have turned 51 this week. Unfortunately, he passed away at a much younger age, I believe near the end of 2005. But one of the all-time great wrestlers, and we want to talk a little bit about him today because it's his birthday. But Chandler, do you have any of your favorite Eddie Guerrero moments?
One of my favorite all-time moments is when, I think it was it WrestleMania 20 when he retained the title by cheating with slipping out of the shoe from the ankle lock from Kurt Angle. That's an awesome moment. That's one of my top Eddie Guerrero moments for sure. There's so many more. His matches in earlier in his career in ECW, like before ECW was Extreme, when there was still like Eastern Championship Wrestling or whatever it was, against him and Dean Malenko, like their work was just fantastic, man. That was even before they were in WCW as well. But like seriously, such awesome matches. You should check them out if you can.
Yes,
which you can on the network. That's
right. Those are some of my favorite matches as well. Those the late ECW just before they're leaving, and you get a lot of the "Please don't go" and "Thank you, Eddie" and chants like that. When the ECW fans knew that he was going to ECW or to WCW from ECW, along with Malenko. So yeah, some of those are really good matches. There's the one where he's got like the American flag kind of tights, and then the I think the one I like better is where he has almost like the tiger striped green and black Zubas. Mm-hmm. But both of those are great matches. Yes. 1997 Halloween Havoc, right, against the Phantom version of Rey Mysterio.
That's one of my all-time favorite matches.
One
that
of the
match
matches
is fantastic.
Ever.
Yeah, especially like a WCW collection. That's one of the best matches I think they've ever had.
Yep.
So yeah, a ton of good Eddie Guerrero, whether it be ECW, WCW, WWE, WWF. He did a little time in Ring of Honor, if I'm not mistaken, after the Radicals. He had to leave WWF at the time, did maybe a little Ring of Honor right at the very beginning, and then eventually would come back for a really big run with WWE. So, but Andre, this is kind of inspired by you. And you wanted to do some Eddie Guerrero themed stuff. You got the LWO shirt on. So what are some of your favorite Eddie Guerrero moments?
What do we got an hour here? Or
Yeah.
No, there's quite a few. I don't want to take up too much time talking about Eddie Guerrero, but one of my let me see here. My favorite promo probably in the history, and this is actually very serious. Something that really, as cheesy as it sounds, really inspires me a lot. Is a promo he had leading up to his match against Brock Lesnar, the Beast, in 2004, No Way Out, when he won his first WWE Championship. There was this segment, and you can't find it on YouTube, and I think a lot of that has to do with the racial overtones of the beginning, because Brock Lesnar came out in a sombrero and a mariachi band making
dancing
fun of
around.
Yeah,
it was.
But to me, that doesn't bother me because the promo that him and Eddie had after that, especially Eddie, was really inspiring for me because I'm someone who's been sober since 2009, and that was a promo where in the beginning of the promo, Brock kind of pokes fun at Eddie Guerrero for his addictions and his issues, and he talked about when he was winning NCAA championships, Eddie Guerrero was fighting his demons. And then Eddie Guerrero gets the microphone and just goes off for like a couple minutes just talking about how he is an addict and how he overcame that. And I don't want to go on and on about this promo, but he just turned it into how he's an addict and an addict will do anything to get their high, and how his new high is the championship, and how he's going to do whatever it takes to win that championship so he can show his family he's sorry because he lost everything because of it. It was just the best promo in the history of wrestling for me on a personal level, because that's a promo that I've watched and listened to a lot because of what I go through in my life and my recovery. That it's just something that's inspired me a lot in the past. But to be less of a serious note, probably, and ironically, it's pulled up on our computer screen right now. There was a match on SmackDown, no DQ match against Edge. His final match is one of my favorite moments too, because he won by bringing either, I think it was a chair or the title, into the ring when the ref wasn't looking, and threw it to Mr. Kennedy, and then fell on the ground and grabbed his head. And the ref called for the bell. You have the 2004 No Way Out where he won the title from Brock Lesnar. And then the celebration not the next night, but a couple nights later, that was on tape delay on SmackDown with the balloons and the confetti. Just his entire career, I honestly believe Shawn Michaels my favorite wrestler, and he's the greatest of all time. The only reason Eddie Guerrero is not the greatest of all time is because he passed away. I think talent-wise, Eddie Guerrero was better than Shawn Michaels, even though Shawn Michaels had a better career. And I think
hot takes here on 103.5.
I don't know if it's hot. If you watch Eddie Guerrero in the ring, you'd see that he had all the tools and all the talent. And had he not passed away, I think he would have gone down as the greatest of all time. But yeah, Eddie Guerrero was just incredible. And his comedic stuff too, the stuff he did with Kurt Angle, and then his heel turn on Rey Mysterio, one of the best heel turns and best heel promos of all time. There's so much. I could literally do a show just on Eddie Guerrero, just talking about the great things he's done, but I don't want to steal too much thunder, so I will.
Before we get to Aiden, to your point, Andre, we're watching right now in the studio ECW April 15th, 1995. This was like the last match. We're watching some really good wrestling between Guerrero and Malenko. In some of the chain wrestling and stuff that he's doing with Malenko, I know Malenko's known for that stuff, but I will say that is something that Eddie Guerrero is better at than HBK. So I'm not saying you're totally crazy, but it is. I think it is a hot take, though.
He had the tools. He had all the tools to be better, is what I'm trying to say. He didn't get a chance to put it all together. He was 38 when he passed. AJ Styles is 40 now. He would have been going for a long time because of how good he was and how crisp he was. So I think it would have only been a matter of time before he got there.
Aiden, what about you? I know you kind of came into wrestling because of your age later than your average Eddie Guerrero fan. But do you have things that you like from Eddie Guerrero, or how much have you seen really?
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate how he was really before my time, because some of his matches were some of the most entertaining I've ever seen, thanks to actually a lot of them being on the WWE Network. And I wanted to bring up WrestleMania 20 again, because that was really my first big match that I saw him in, which really captivated me, and the character and the style and the personality that really was Eddie Guerrero, that defined him to be not only a wrestler but a pure entertainer as well. And obviously the using the boots to slip off and roll up Kurt Angle is a classic moment of all WrestleMania history, and the emotional moments when after Chris Benoit won the same night that he shared with Eddie was also kind of tear jerk a little bit, since these two really came together into business. And so also I wanted to mention, it's not him specifically, but Rey Mysterio's performance in the 2006 Royal Rumble was also extremely emotional, which was coast to coast technically, during a number 2 in the car to his music and pointing to the heavens during that, and that it's one of the moments where wrestling is real. And
Speaking of, I'm sorry.
no, you go. You go ahead.
No, I was just saying. Speaking of Rey Mysterio, that just reminds me of the child custody not on a pole, child custody ladder match that he had with Rey Mysterio. And I was curious to see your guys' thoughts on that feud and that.
That was technically my first introduction to Eddie Guerrero.
Oh, okay.
That was the first time I ever saw him, and I thought that was just he was like the end all be all heel, like he's trying to steal a child from this 5-foot man who can't help himself. So, but the match itself was pretty entertaining in of itself because it's no secret that Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero had great chemistry together in the ring as being great friends. Mm-hmm. Also, apparently being in WCW from even way back in the late 90s. So it's a real shame that he did pass away, especially because I would have loved to see him wrestling like the later 2000s. Mm-hmm. And especially even if he could still be going today, what he could be doing with the current superstar would be amazing to see, especially like all the other high flyers and maybe even other heels tactics. That it's just the imagination can go wild with all the stuff he could do in today's climate.
Oh, and that frog splash too is probably the prettiest frog splash. I know RVD gets a lot of air on his, and his probably
It's 5 stars.
It's 5 stars, but RVD's frog splashes, his hands, his arms they like do the whole, they swing in the air, whereas Eddie's arms are every single time, it's just picture perfect. The way that he crouches his body in and out, it's just so pretty.
And no disrespect to Rob Van Dam at all, since he's a great performer of himself, but whenever somebody does a frog splash now, they always try to imitate Eddie Guerrero more than anyone else, since he did have what I would call a perfect frog splash.
Do you guys know where it came from? The frog splash?
No.
Art Barr was his tag team partner in the 90s, and he passed away, Art Barr did, and that was Art Barr's finisher. So Eddie Guerrero took it as a tribute to him and has used it ever since until his unfortunate passing as well.
Yeah, another favorite moment of mine was, I believe it was a SmackDown when there was a steel cage match where Eddie Guerrero jumps off of the cage, I believe, into I think that was a frog splash off the cage. Yes. And the cage was like a lot bigger back then, too, so it was even more impressive.
He had 2 cage matches on SmackDown that were just incredible. One against JBL, one against Rey Mysterio. Ooh, I'm going to have to go back and watch some of these matches now that we're talking about it. The one against Rey Mysterio is one of my favorites because the storytelling in that match was just so perfect. It was built as Eddie could not beat Rey Mysterio, and he was like 0 of 5 the last 5 times, or 0 of 6 the last 6 times that they had wrestled, and Eddie was a heel, and this was the match that Eddie finally won, and the way he won it was he beat the hell out of Rey Mysterio, had the match won, was walking out the door to exit the cage, took like 2 steps, was about to exit, stopped, went back in with anger, got up on the top rope, hit the frog splash, and pinned Rey for the 1-2-3 instead of just walking out. And that was always one of my favorite moments in storytelling and wrestling history. Like I said, I could go on and on, but I'll stop talking now.
Well, we can get in a little bit more here. We're looking at Rumble Ramble's top 10 best Eddie Guerrero matches on the WWE Network if you want to follow along with us. But there's a lot of the matches you guys listed are right here. You got No Way Out in 2004 against Brock Lesnar. You've got him against Rob Van Dam, I guess a frog splash match, ladder match. Eddie Guerrero against Shinjiro Otani from WCW in 1995. He must have been real fresh in WCW at this time. And if I'm not mistaken, I think one of the big New Japan or All Japan rivalries from the early 90s was Jushin Thunder Liger along with Shinjiro Otani. So I'm now that one pops up, I feel like, when I get home, I'm going to have to check out that match because I didn't know that Otani was on WCW at all. You've got Eddie Guerrero and Kurt Angle. Of course, a lot of this is going to be from the SmackDown 6 days. This one is from actually April of 2005, though, number 1 contenders match. And you've got Guerrero versus Mysterio in November of 2002. Those guys have had a ton. There's, of course, that 97 one we talked about from Halloween Havoc. TV title match on ECW, which it's not the one that we picked up as one of their last, but
They had several in ECW that were great.
Yep. And as I said, I think the one with the Tiger Zubas was my favorite, but all these are really good stuff. And one of my favorite, when the network first came out, one of the first things I did was watched like 1995 WCW for some of these matches and Chris Jericho's run later. But just great stuff. And then in that SmackDown 6 era, you have a fatal four-way match for the number one contendership on SmackDown. Guerrero, Benoit, Edge, and Angle. And then, so who would be missing there would be Chavo and Ray would be the two of the SmackDown 6 not in that match. And then another one, him versus Edge.
That might be the best match in SmackDown history, honestly.
This match between Edge and Eddie Guerrero?
Yep, the best match in SmackDown history. Watch it. Watch it this week and tell me what you think.
All right, before we go on, I want to. We're also coming up on 1,000 episodes of SmackDown.
Yep.
Do you have a couple best matches that you'd put up against that one? I have a couple, but I don't know if they're actually better matches. I just remember loving them so much as a kid. But
honestly, one of my all-time favorite SmackDown matches is the main event of the very first episode.
Okay.
With The Rock and Triple H, with Shawn Michaels as a special referee.
Yes.
That's honestly that stands out when I think of SmackDown matches for sure.
HBK and The Rock have legit hatred for each other. That's one of the very few times in the Attitude Era you'll ever see them in the ring at the same time.
Yeah, and just everything about that match, including that, it's one of my favorite SmackDown matches. But yeah, that's definitely one of my top SmackDown matches as well. That's up there. Yes, the Edge and Eddie Guerrero match for sure.
I can't recall this one, so I'm gonna have to go and check it out. So
it is so good.
Aiden, do you have one of your favorite or a top SmackDown match or moment from your history?
Not only did I get into wrestling much later than you guys, since you are grizzled veterans of the sport, as I would say. Nothing wrong with that at all, but when I came into wrestling in 2009, I didn't have the network to watch SmackDown on at the time, which was Sci-Fi?
Probably,
2009-ish. So, and I didn't get it. Actually, no. In 2009, I was on WGN. I didn't get that. So, and when it moved to Sci-Fi in like 2010, then I finally got to watch it. And so, and then that kind of era didn't really produce so many great matches because the televised Raw and SmackDown wasn't the best at the time. So I don't know if I would put any of those matches I watched live, but
yeah, that's fair.
I'd have to go back and actually watch SmackDowns from before 2009, and especially this one that'll be on the top of my list to watch. So I can't really say one of my favorite SmackDown matches yet.
Andre, what about you? You have one other than this?
The cage match against Rey Mysterio with Eddie Guerrero.
Okay.
I mean, that and probably the cage match with... I mean, I'm incredibly biased, but those are the three, when I think of SmackDown, those are the three matches that stand out that aren't something newer with like an AJ Styles or something like that.
Something that comes to mind for me right away is, I think it's The Big Show and Undertaker against the Rock and Sock Connection. This is probably like the 6th or 7th SmackDown ever. And it was a buried alive match. But at the same time, Stone Cold was feuding with Triple H. So they're also involved like in backstage segments during this match. And I believe it's Big Show throws Mankind off of the stage onto the dirt pile and like bounces on his hip and then into the grave, I guess. So yeah, that's one that comes to mind right away. But there's been plenty of good ones. But I get what Aiden's saying, because with the time frames of when they were actually keeping up on there being a brand split, or when SmackDown was for sure the B show and not live, there's probably a lot of stinkers in there where you weren't really continuing any storylines because people weren't going to watch. They were going to watch Raw. So yeah, I guess that makes sense.
I will mention, I think this was on SmackDown. The Rock was doing whatever, I think, with Stone Cold. I can't remember, but I just remember that the Hurricane was hiding in his locker, and he came out and mentioned how small The Rock is.
There's some good Hurricane stuff for sure on SmackDown.
I think it was like a 5-minute segment. It was just like perfect because you have, The Rock was the biggest superstar at the time, and then you have the Hurricane, who is a fake superhero.
What do you mean fake?
A real superhero in a fake sport.
Okay.
And he's feuding with feuding with The Rock and calling him small. That's just great to
If
me.
he's a fake superhero, how did he fly away off screen all those years?
I just said a real superhero in a fake sport.
He still flew away.
Yeah, I just said he's real.
Okay. I'm gonna let that slide.
It's still real to me, damn it. Let's talk about Super Showdown. I guess before we get into the card and everything, which maybe I'll have Chandler give us a rundown, but I want to know when you watched it and how soon afterwards. So I'll give you guys mine first. I woke up just randomly at like 3:30 in the morning, and I decided that I'd at least put the network on live so it could just roll in, and maybe I'd wake up and catch a little bit or something. But I didn't. It's not a good way to attempt to watch the show. So last night was when I really sat down and watched it. But I did see a few of the matches on Saturday morning. But I want to know where or when you guys decided to make time for this pay-per-view, because I mean at 4 a.m, I guess it's not the easiest thing.
No, I watched it that night
Okay.
at about 8 o'clock. I think is when I turned it on. Some 8 or 9 o'clock, something like that.
Eden.
I watched the rerun of it at 10 the same day in the morning.
And I did Super Showdown same way I did King of Pro Wrestling, as I watched it later. I did not. Saturday I went and had lunch with my dad and saw my nephew, and then came home around.
Oh, tell us
12.
what'd you have for lunch?
We had Mexican food, by the way.
Really?
I had
Shocking.
yeah. Well, anyways,
What's your nephew's name?
His name is Lorenzo.
Okay.
Anyways, he's a little baby, but whatever. That's beyond the point. He's
That's
adorable.
really
He's
mean.
Cute.
He's probably
cute.
listening. He's just a little
cute.
baby. Are you cutting a promo on?
He's
on
a
Lorenzo
baby
right now?
face. He's a good guy.
Oh,
so
okay.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But anyways, came home from that between 12:45 1 o'clock, and just kind of did not go on my phone, did not go on social media, other than like Messenger and stuff, and turned it on with no spoilers around 1 and just watched it.
You made
watched
it that
then.
long with no spoilers.
I did.
Good job.
I did. But I made it all day Monday with only seeing one King of Pro Wrestling spoiler too.
Are you most likely to get a spoiler from social media or one of us or one of like our wrestling friends? What's
Twitter.
most likely to
Twitter
happen?
is most likely.
Twitter's, yeah, that's
Twitter
I think
and
so, too.
Facebook and Instagram.
Sometimes it's hard not to just click on that app icon.
But I with New Japan, I don't get a lot of spoilers on Facebook. I get a whole bunch of spoilers on Twitter for New Japan. So I just all day Monday. That was so. Oh no, we'll get to that later. But that was tough because I did not go on Twitter all day Monday. It was frustrating. But yeah, Super Showdown I watched that day, 1 in the afternoon or so.
Okay. All right. Nicely done. Should we break it down by match?
Break it down.
We'll get to that later.
Yeah. Okay. First match of the night. The New Day holds on against the Bar. What do you guys think of this one?
It's all right. It's a good New Day and Bar match.
Too short for my liking, but good.
Yeah, I agree with Andre. It was a little short, but still, I think it was a great match. It was still like Aiden said as well. It was great match from the New Day and the Bar. I definitely would have liked to see them get a little bit more time though.
Needed 10 minutes to finish the story.
Yep.
Okay. Honestly, for me, outside of 1, maybe 2 matches, I feel like that was the story for a lot of these that I could have used a little bit more. Or maybe one less match to get a little bit more stuff in all around. But there are some other matches we're going to talk about that I also feel did not go as long as they could have. One jumps out specifically, but
I like
was
that
by
one. I just
design,
want to
though.
point
Me
out.
too.
Yeah, I know what you're
Me
talking
too.
about.
Yeah,
And I loved
yeah.
that.
We'll
We'll get there.
we'll get there. You also had Charlotte Flair defeating Becky Lynch via DQ. So we had a rematch last night.
Yep.
Aiden, what happened there?
Well, Becky tried to run away with the title, and that did not work. So, and then ended it in a double count out, in which resulted in Charlotte Flair spearing Becky Lynch through the entranceway, like where the
LED
LED lights, yes. And they-
Andre, go. Oh, sorry.
I just wanted to mention that they kept showing that shot like multiple times because it actually did look pretty brutal. I think Charlotte might have cut up her arm a little bit on the impact. Something, yeah.
She got cut up pretty bad, they said.
You think that's going to be like on the beginning of SmackDown from here on out?
Yeah, I could see that being a WWE thing that they put at the beginning of SmackDown. Yes, totally.
Okay, so let's see here. We also John Cena. I want to talk about his haircut. It's pretty
You mean
bad,
his?
right?
It's rough.
Oh man,
But he's
Lego hair. He looked like JBL, right?
Yes.
He looked just like JBL.
Yes, he did.
He really, like, that's all I could think is, like, he is JBL right now. It's not a good look.
I'm pretty sure it's for a role, but
Yeah.
it's not a good look on
Yeah.
him.
I think Jackie Chan told him to have that.
What'd you think about the changes in his body, too? He really did look different. He looked completely different. Not certainly the hair is a big part of it because we've really only see him with that military cut or some of the early prototype or when he kind of would wear boxing gear to the ring. But we've seen basically like the military crew cut forever and ever. This was so weird to see him with I don't know I don't know, just like a coiffed I don't even know what you want to call it. It was
Lego
bizarre.
hair.
It was Lego hair.
It literally was Lego hair.
So, all right, but what his body? You guys saw some changes there as well, right?
Yeah,
And
he's
they
cut
mentioned it
some
a number of
weight. Yeah,
times.
he's lost a lot of weight, and you can see it.
He's been learning kung fu.
Yeah, you guys. I was gonna say you guys are forgetting the biggest change of all. His 6th move of doom.
How did you feel about Michael Cole calling that out as it happened? I feel like that's a Corey Graves line. I would have liked it better there, but
It got a laugh out of me.
yeah, it was. People are giving it crap on Twitter. I saw because it's a striking semi-finisher, I guess. But I don't know.
I like it because
I
it's
love
goofy.
I'm okay with it.
I love John Cena and I love that move.
What can anyone tell me what it's called in the room right now?
Nope. I was laughing too much.
Okay,
It's some kind of Japanese. I call it the 6th move of doom.
It's
I
Chinese.
think it's Chinese.
Chinese. Sorry, whatever.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean that.
That was
That's
racial.
really racist. I just assumed it was Japanese because I thought. Well, no,
Ben
it
Long
wasn't
is furious
Shanghai.
right
Yep.
now.
Nope.
It's
Because
okay.
I was going
It's
to say
okay.
I
You
thought
had
it was
Mexican food the other day.
because I said
with your-
that I
with your
thought it
nephew.
was in
We're good.
Japan, but it was in China that he debuted it. So you're right. I'm wrong. Sorry.
It's okay.
Oh, boy.
Send your hate tweets to. See, this is great. It's usually me who does this kind of stuff.
Yeah, but the thing is one of us does it on purpose and the other one doesn't.
I don't.
Just kidding,
Yeah, I
just
don't know
kidding.
who. It really was weird seeing him, but the move, I don't know what it's called either, which I think is funny that none of us can pronounce it or remember what it's called. But
The sixth fist of the dragon.
there you go. But I saw the referee ask, like he must have just asked John Cena, "What the hell was that?" And you can see John Cena kind of turns to him, and he was like mouthing whatever it is. But
Probably
what a weird
speaking
thing.
to the referee in Mandarin.
Yes. I like it, though. Why not change things up a little bit? We saw him add that springboard stunner a few years ago. I like Cena adding new moves. I was not upset at that at all. I thought that's a cool thing. People were clamoring for that for so long for him to change his moveset, and then people get upset when he adds one in.
Kevin Owens does a better stunner, though.
I loved Kevin Owens talking trash to John Cena.
Oh man, the stunner that he gave to Bobby Lashley on Raw this past Monday, Kevin Owens, that is. Oh man, it was fantastic.
So
Yeah, with a bum knee.
Lashley and Cena won the match against Elias and Owens. They had a fun little opener with the guitar, but it sounds like Andre that Kevin Owens is going to be out for a while with a knee injury and had surgery recently.
That's what they say. They say there's either that or he's going to have surgery, but they say he's hurt and he's out. And
Yes, he was
I don't
written
know
off
how
Raw
long.
with Bobby Lashley defeating him again.
The next match, the Iconics get a win against Asuka and Naomi back in Melbourne, Australia, as they say there. What do you guys think of this match? Yeah.
Meh. I mean, I like all four women involved, but it was just kind of meh.
I think that was it was okay. It was decent enough. I think it just there was not enough. It was a match for the people in Australia and for the Iconics to
Yep.
go over in their home country, but
And
there
it was
wasn't.
fine for that.
And it was fine for that. But the build didn't draw me into
Yep.
it. So therefore, the fact that it was a good match doesn't matter as much. It wasn't a bad match, but it just was.
Yeah.
Their interview after where they were shown video of their family reacting to them and them crying, them being the Iconics, pronouns, pal. I think that was the best part of this. Even that wasn't on TV, that was on YouTube, but that was one of my favorite parts of the whole show was seeing that because it was just real raw emotion from the Iconics.
I like to call it a prelude to the next Australian home match.
So yeah, it was okay. It was a little short. It was kind of just that letting them win as faces for the first time and in a huge situation for them because they made their debut the SmackDown after WrestleMania. So this was got to be the biggest show that they've ever been a part of at home. Certainly weren't at the first Saudi Arabian pay-per-view. Sorry, did you want to get in?
No,
Oh.
no, sorry.
Next match, WWE Championship match. AJ Styles defeats Samoa Joe via submission. This was a no DQ, no countout match. This
There
one
must be a winner.
That's right. This one seemed to go the right amount of time. One of the few that did, but hell of a match here. We shouldn't expect nothing less, right?
This was my favorite match of the night, followed up by the Cruiserweight Championship. Those were my favorite two matches, but this was, to me, this was the best part of the event. That match, the story that they told throughout the entire match, from AJ Styles not even making it down to the ring, just the brawl starting at the ramp, and just from then on. Man, I'm kind of sad to see the Samoa Joe and AJ Styles feud be over now, just because of the entire story that they've told, everything that Samoa Joe has done to get under AJ's skin. To see that end kind of sucks, but this match was right on par with their entire rivalry that I feel like they did as perfect as WWE could have done with the way that they present things on TV. I know they're not. This wasn't the same rivalry as in TNA, but it was, in my opinion, it was just as good as all the work that they did there, and it was just WWE style. It was their style of doing things, and I think that as far as WWE does things, that they did an absolutely perfect job with this rivalry. Just wish it would have gotten a little more time, and this match itself was unbelievable.
This match was so good. The best match of the night. This one was so good that had you told me before, or had I seen a spoiler and saw that Samoa Joe tapped out, I would have been upset and disappointed, and I would have said that's the worst way to end this match. But seeing it play out and not knowing what was going to happen, they did a phenomenal job, pun intended, of making it believable. And I look back on it now and saying Samoa Joe tapping out was totally fine, and it did not hurt him whatsoever. And I'm not upset about it at all, because the way that they told that story was perfect. The way that he got hurt and the way that the audio picked up, I heard something pop, and the way that he couldn't stand, and just the whole thing was just made it perfect that him tapping out didn't hurt him and it was the right thing, honestly. The only sad thing, like Chandler said, is the feud coming to an end for now.
Yes, let's just say this will be a to be continued eventually, hopefully, because obviously we'd all love to see another match between these two great superstars, and the chemistry they have together is some of the best in the business right now in WWE. And this will be my second favorite match of the night, because the one after this one is my favorite, just slightly, very slight, because
Ronda Rousey and the Bella Twins.
Go ahead,
and the
yeah.
Riot Squad.
Tell us about it.
No, I was reading the wrong. I'm talking about the Cruiserweight Championship.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, that match. I didn't like that match so much I forgot it was there.
I was Ronda aroused.
Anyways, back on track.
All right. This was a great match. A lot of fun moments. AJ Styles gets blood drawn, I guess, for the second time in their last three matches. Was it SummerSlam?
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yep.
With Hell in the Cell in there as well, I guess. Also, AJ Styles kind of showing a different unhinged, unleashed side for the sake of his family, and pulling the referee out of the way when he was checking on Samoa Joe for the knee popping that Andre mentioned. This really was a good match. This is one that I watched two times in beginning to finish. So I thought this was the best match, I think, and they gave it time. So I would like to maybe have seen the Cruiserweight Championship go a little bit longer as well, but we'll get there. For Aiden's favorite match, Ronda Rousey and the Bella Twins defeat the Riot Squad via submission. I'm just kidding, Aiden.
Don't worry, I'm not mad.
All right. You got that look in your eye.
You can just hear it, can't you?
That's right. Aiden is sitting directly behind me. I cannot see what he is doing whatsoever.
He can't see me lifting the chair behind him.
Yeah.
There's always a plan B.
Are we passing on this, or is someone wanting to talk about this match?
No.
I'm glad it's over. I guess it was a fun finish because with the double armbar.
Well,
that was cool.
Yeah, and it led to the moment on Raw because they had a rematch, and that's as far as I want to talk about it.
Okay, well, just to sum things up, though, Rousey and the Bella Twins are done. Is that?
Well, Nikki Bella's getting a shot at the Raw Women's title at Evolution.
Oh.
The Bella Twins. There was a rematch, and the Bella Twins attacked Ronda after the match.
Okay, so that's what happened.
Because that makes sense.
Yeah, all the sense in the world.
Man, that Cruiserweight Championship match. No, I'm just
Yes.
Well, let's talk about it. Buddy Murphy at home beating Cedric Alexander, who lost for the first time this year, if I'm not mistaken. Buddy Murphy, big babyface pop, as you would expect. He's usually a heel, but back in Australia, he's the man there. So really fun match. These are two of the bigger, or maybe the two biggest cruiserweights that we have. You think we need to change that line? 205?
I mean, they
Bump
just
it up.
added Mike Kanellis, so yeah.
210, pre-recorded show.
Well, Mike Kanellis is 215, and he's on 205 Live, so it's got to be 215 pre-recorded.
They said that Cedric Alexander, Renee Young, leading up to this match, was weighing 250 pounds up until he decided to do the Cruiserweight Challenge.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah,
I know,
he
and I
was-
saw he was big in some of your Ring of Honor DVDs
he
that
was-
we've watched.
And when I went and saw him, like when
That's right, you
couple
were
that
there.
I think the 2 times that I went in Milwaukee a few years back, yeah, he was a lot bigger, but he did the same exact moves.
Right.
His moveset was literally the exact
Yeah.
same. He's just a freak athlete.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was a lot bigger. He cut a lot of weight to make the Cruiserweight Classic. And yeah, it's crazy that I mean, it felt like, honestly, the last 2 or 3 defenses, I honestly thought he was going to lose. So it made all the sense for Buddy Murphy to win it in Australia and have that moment. But he's going to bring the title back to the States and I'm sure just be a complete heel about it with his title, with his title reign.
Aiden, you said this was your top match of the night?
Yes, it was. And I want to mention, I saw WWE had a poll on Twitter what everyone's favorite match was, and the comment section was just all Buddy Murphy and Cedric Alexander. It wasn't one choices, but the entire comment section was that. So that kind of speaks volume of how great this match was.
It wasn't a choice?
No, the choices were Charlotte Flair and Becky, AJ Styles, the Shield match, and
AJ.
Ronda Rousey.
Oh, man.
AJ and Samoa was or no?
No, that was the first choice.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, a great match. Not according to Twitter, not everyone's favorite.
I'd like to see the cruiserweights a little bit more on Raw. Have we still not seen them on Raw? What other than
Well,
A couple appearances, but no matches.
yeah, it's weird because Drake Maverick, who is the general manager of the Cruiserweight
Yeah.
division, is also the manager of AOP.
and then Leo Rush?
And Leo Rush is Bobby Lashley's manager. And
Hype man.
Hype Man, yeah, excuse me, because that's literally what they call him on TV.
That's awesome.
That's all that they call him. So he's his Hype Man. This week he had a microphone. It was actually pretty funny.
Okay.
I'll give
like Leo Rush.
Drake
Kevin Owens
Maverick.
chasing him around the ring was pretty funny.
Oh gosh, I love that.
With the mic,
visual
just
in my
get away
head.
from me, just get away. It was actually pretty funny.
I give Drake Maverick credit that he has to be a heel manager on Monday and then gets to be a face general manager on Tuesdays. So yeah, good for him playing multi characters.
Andre, did we get your take on this match?
Loved it. And this was one of the matches of the weekend that, and when I say weekend, I mean that and King of Pro Wrestling, that I was so glad that I did not get any spoilers for, because I legit thought no titles were changing hands coming out of Super Showdown. So when this happened, even though I thought that in the back of my mind there's a possibility because it's in his home country, not only his home country, but his hometown, that Buddy Murphy could win, I still didn't think they were going to do it because Cedric Alexander hasn't lost in 2018. So for that to happen, that got me a little bit, but I'm not complaining. I love Cedric Alexander, but I also love Buddy Murphy. He's great. He's got the look. He's got the moveset. He's got everything. And to see him win, I think it's good because he needed it, because he lost last time he went against Cedric Alexander. And as Aiden has pointed out quite a few times in the show, it's the law of threes or the rule of thirds.
Rule of thirds.
Rule of thirds. So Cedric Alexander will probably get another shot at Buddy Murphy. And I don't know. I hope kind of Buddy Murphy holds on to it for a while. I think he'd be a great heel champion. Maybe I'll start watching 205 Live again.
And possibly then a Drew Gulak gets back into the picture and we get Buddy Murphy versus Drew Gulak.
Chandler, what was the Buddy Murphy and Alexa Bliss tag team in NXT?
Oh, it was Alexa Bliss was the manager, and he was tagging with Wesley Blake.
Right.
Yeah, and they were just.
I can't think of. Did they have a name? Blake? Was it Wesley and Blake, or
The-
was it?
it was like
Blake and
like
Murphy.
Blake and Murphy.
Okay.
Factor BAMF.
All right. That tag team went about as far as I thought they would go. Is that Buddy Murphy was the guy, and I really hated what is it, Wesley Blake?
Wesley Blake, who's a member of the Forgotten Sons now.
And where is that?
NXT.
NXT, yeah.
The Forgotten Sons. Who else is in this? He looks like a Simpsons
Jackson
character.
Riker, who is Gunner from TNA, and Steve Cutler.
Really?
Yep.
All right. So they're like the social outcasts of NXT now.
Pretty much, like
Had to put that gimmick on them.
kind of biker-ish, like Sons of Anarchy kind of ish.
Yeah.
They're
feel,
tougher than the
style.
social outcasts
Yeah.
were. They
But
don't
they're-
have
but-
that, like, they're not a cheesy, they're not
Okay.
the social outcasts. They're a little bit more,
But they are
Misfits
like
in action?
outcasts. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. There
Okay,
you go.
all right.
Yep.
but no, yeah.
As I said, he always reminds me of a Simpsons character. And now someone tweeted this, which I think is so funny and dead on. They said, even though I've heard Dave Meltzer talk, anytime I read his tweets, I view it in or in my head, it's this guy's voice playing, and it's the comic book shop guy from The Simpsons. And it really, if you do that, if you read Dave Meltzer's tweets as like the know-it-all comic book guy who makes people feel really stupid, it is so 100% dead on.
That's pretty funny.
And from now on, that's all I can think of. I'm more likely to read Dave Meltzer's tweets because I'm like, yes, back in 2012, it is clear to me that Kenny
technically.
Omega was ahead of the game in Japan. He was heading there, and I just see him as that guy, or it's playing in my head all the time, and I actually love it.
Just
Oh my
too
god.
funny.
You ruined Meltzer tweets
Yeah,
for me now.
I
think
Or
he's-
just
I think
made
he
them
made it
infinitely
better.
better.
No, you're right.
It
Yeah.
makes me like I'm even happier reading it even when it's nothing to do with anything that I care about or whatever. I just love doing that, and like he does write it in a way that you feel it has that some sort of attitude on it,
Totally.
and he has to make people feel bad who are just asking questions and like praise him like he's a god and he's never actually been a wrestler. It's funny to me. I get why he's the guy, but he does have like that kind of smarky
His
attitude.
Twitter persona is kind of an a-hole to
Yes.
certain people. To people that aren't that knowledgeable and are just looking for answers, he should be a little bit more, well, let me show you why this business of professional wrestling is so great, instead of making them feel foolish for even asking that.
Right. So anyone out there, next time you read Dave Meltzer's tweet, think of the comic book guy from The Simpsons. It will brighten up your day. After the Cruiserweight Championship match, we had The Shield defeating Braun Strowman, Dolph Ziggler, and Drew McIntyre. I really liked a couple moments in this. I like that they do talk a little bit about Renee Young and Dean Ambrose and how she said that he's the most loyal person that she's ever met. But then that part where it was Strowman, Ziggler, McIntyre, and then Ambrose was getting in the ring, and it looked like Ambrose was going to turn, but he ends up running right through Reigns and Rollins and jumps outside to Strowman, kind of for like a suicide dive. I thought that was a really cool moment. Other than that, I don't know. I wasn't like blown away.
That was the only moment I remember from this match, so that's says about that for me, for how I felt.
Yeah, it was kind of what I expected. So it wasn't too. I wasn't on the edge of my seat like I was for the WWE Championship or the Cruiserweight Championship match. Not to say that this match was bad. It was kind of what I expected, but definitely that moment where Dean did the dive through, running between Seth and Roman was definitely my favorite moment of the match.
Aiden, do we get anything further on this storyline on Raw?
Yes, we hinted at Dean Ambrose really considering leaving the Shield because they had the rematch as the main event, and at the end of it, Ziggler, McIntyre, and Strowman won that match, and Dean Ambrose just kind of walks out. He just leaves the building.
Interesting. Okay, so we'll have to see what happens there.
I want to mention one thing. I like the spot where Strowman is about at Super Showdown, where he's about to run outside the ring. He usually just do his normal tackle thing to Dean Ambrose, but then Roman Reigns just kind of comes out of nowhere and spears him through the barricade. I like
That
that.
was
I like
great.
that moment.
That was cool.
That was
I like
one
that
of the
moment.
best Roman Reigns moments ever. I'm glad you pointed that out. I almost forgot about that. That was I did not see that coming at all. That
Yeah,
was great.
Kind of made me
You
flinch a
know,
little bit. 'Cause
yeah.
it's just like, oh.
I have a hot take here. We
Okay.
we're talking about hot takes earlier.
All right.
Roman Reigns has
You
a
don't
damn
not a
good
big fan of
spear.
Lorenzo? No, I'm just kidding.
He has he has a good spear. He has one of my favorite spears,
It's definitely
possibly of
improved.
all time. I hate the result of it every single time.
Yeah.
Because it's just matches that I don't want to see him win. But he has a fantastic spear.
Okay.
I'd put it
agree with
up
that.
against Goldberg's, who to me is all time greatest, and it always will be. But I'd put it up against it.
Andre, you
At
like
this
an edge
point.
spear? What do you like? A Charlotte guy?
Chandler's kind of right. I mean, I always had Goldberg up there, and Roman Reigns is up there too, which is ironic for me. But that spear from Roman Reigns was great, and I think it's no fluke that a lot of the best Roman Reigns moments have come from some kind of altercation match, etc., with Braun Strowman.
Yep, and he hits Braun Strowman on Raw with a spear outside the ring, and it wasn't through the barricade like it was at Super Showdown, but that was like, honestly, I was just thinking about what happened at Super Showdown, and then that spear itself too, which is one of the best ones I think I've ever seen. I honestly, I just like sat there and I was like, man, Roman has one of the best spears I've ever seen.
When
He
it comes
honestly
to
does.
delivering a spear somewhere, I mean, in the ring, it's between Goldberg and Roman Reigns, but anywhere that's not in the ring, outside the ring, Roman Reigns is the absolute best. He delivers outside the ring spears.
It looks so devastating.
Phenomenally,
And he just
or
makes
incredibly.
he just makes it look so devastating.
Very good. Aiden, do you have a favorite beholder of the spear?
Well, actually, well, it's kind of a weird pick, but I like an old school Big Show spear because when he
Yeah.
runs into you, that looks like it hurts. Because when he's like near 500 pounds and he's like tackling you, that looks like it hurts.
He didn't do it a lot, but when he did,
Yeah, when
If it was-
it's a rare occasion for him, but when he does it, it's
if that
big.
counts, I know exactly what we're talking about, and I'm going to put that up there too. I agree with you on that. If that counts, Big Show.
Sure, why not? All right, good stuff. More hot takes from you guys. Aiden, you got anything to throw into the fire with these guys?
No, I'm already hot enough as is.
Hell yeah. Up next, we would have the number one contenders match for the WWE Championship. Daniel Bryan against The Miz.
2 minute
2 minute man.
So was that the length?
Yep.
Were you guys ready for this at all?
Nope, but I loved it.
It fits. I absolutely wanted more from the match, but it fits storyline wise what they're doing with the Miz and Daniel Bryan. So I wasn't upset by it.
How
I
so?
was okay with it. Just because on Talking Smack on SmackDown, the way that AJ Styles and both AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan just dug into the Miz about the fact that he is the 2 minute man, and
That was Miz TV,
man,
not Talking
I'm sorry.
Smack.
I'm sorry. I said Talking Smack up on Miz TV this week on SmackDown.
Even when
But
they were,
it was great, man. Even though Daniel Bryan is now the number one contender for Crown Jewel, things between Daniel Bryan and the Miz are far from done.
Okay.
I like it because leading up to it on a couple of SmackDowns beforehand, Miz was talking about, I'll do anything to get a chance at that title, and then gets rolled up into a small package. Because he's like, I'll do any underhand tactic to get it, and then I guess if you want to consider it, it's like slightly an underhand tactic used against him, which is just a nice case of irony.
Small package for a 2 minute man.
And you know,
and they called him 2 minute man so many times on that episode, and they brought up the small package, and it was great. Even when they were talking trash to each other, they were talking smack about Miz, because AJ Styles is like, you've only been back for a little bit, and you haven't really wrestled anybody any good. And the Miz just kind of gets...
he's just sitting there
It's just-
stewing.
they
That's
just...
funny.
It's
it was-
so
it
good.
was-
It's like, how great does it feel to punch Miz in the face?
Yeah.
And them leaving us wanting more is exactly what was supposed to happen with this, because this feud is, like you said, far from over.
What do you guys think they do before we get into the final match? What do you think they do with Survivor Series? Is it going to be Raw versus SmackDown, or do you think it'll
No.
be more like those kind of Survivor Series matches, but with each other? Like a trip, I guess. Are we going to see a triple threat between AJ Styles, The Miz, and Daniel Bryan?
I'm thinking that might happen at some point.
Okay.
I'm not entirely sure as far as Survivor Series goes, I would have assumed that it would have been Raw versus SmackDown because of the brand split. And I mean, we would have the random teaming up of everyone that's been feuding against each other just for the sake of Raw versus SmackDown, because that's typically what they do. But it would be interesting to see if they kind of just play out more Raw and SmackDown storylines separately.
I think that's what they're doing, because I think one of the Survivor Series matches is going to be Team Angle versus Team Corbin. But
okay.
I don't know.
Yes.
I've only read results. I haven't watched Raw in months. I've just read results and seen clips. So I don't
Conquistador.
Yes, I was going to say that's, I could totally see that being a thing because of that.
I want to mention, too, that we didn't know it was Kurt Angle. Obviously, he was in a mask and like a gold leotard or whatever bodysuit. And so... No, but once you see 3 German suplexes, 3 really good German suplexes in a row without releasing the grip, and then an angle slam, and he's like that looked really good if you didn't see it, because I think the training that he did when he was off actually really paid off, because that looked really good for his age.
Okay, so for the main event, I almost wonder if because of the timing for the entrances, that's why some of these other matches went shorter. I know with Bryan and The Miz, that was
Undertaker's entrance was longer than The Miz versus Daniel Bryan bell to bell.
Well, probably not even close either. So Triple H with Shawn Michaels defeats The Undertaker with Kane via pinfall. I want to get your guys' take on this match before we get into what happened after the match and some of the stuff on Raw and where things are heading. But on the match itself, what did you guys think?
I think I'm more and more impressed with Triple H the more that I see him in the ring at this point in his life and his career. And he is in the best shape of his entire life. He's in the ring. He's just so polished. And I still feel the same way that I did last week about The Undertaker, with that being I think his time has passed. The good that came of this match was really Triple H kind of pulling his and Undertaker's weight throughout the, both figuratively and literally throughout the match. But it was an all right match, I guess, and what happened afterwards, the booking, I've said previously, the booking of this match, the title last time ever, when it's clearly not going to be the last time ever, it's just something that already took away from the match, and I hate that I feel that way, that something like that would take away from a match that I hadn't even seen, but having seen that match, it definitely still does. It already did, so I don't know. I didn't care too much one way or another, and the best thing to come of this match is the fact that we're going to have Shawn Michaels returning. So I guess that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I won't say too much because I want to take some time to talk about that triple threat at some point. But this match was better than I expected, all things considered. Undertaker showed his age, but the match itself exceeded my expectations. And that's all I could ask for, considering the age of both of them. That, and it led to, as Chandler said, the return of the greatest professional wrestler of all time, my favorite professional wrestler ever, the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. So I think that's the best part of this whole thing. But the match was pretty good.
Aiden, what do you got for us?
The match was fine of itself, and obviously Triple H is doing much better than Undertaker, and it hurts me to say that, because it's sad to watch a man in his 50s still trying to go at it when, again, he probably should have retired a while ago. And it hurts me so much to say it, because he is my favorite wrestler of all time. And again, this is great to see Shawn Michaels back, but then we're going to see another Undertaker just, not be the same Undertaker he used to be, and it hurts my heart a little bit.
Father Time is undefeated, even against Undertaker and Tim Duncan, as sad as it is.
Jesus Christ above us. Okay, you know what? I think that as we'll get more from this match, or we'll talk more about this as the weeks go on. I thought I was very entertained by this. I think the Undertaker is looking pretty awful, but it exceeded my expectations, and I had fun with it, and it was cool because it's guys who've been important for so long. The last 20 plus years of almost 30 for a guy like The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. So it really was a cool thing to see, and it was very nostalgic. And I'm excited to see a little bit more. I'm very excited to see Shawn Michaels, not so much more of The Undertaker, but we'll, I guess, get more into that because, Andre, you wanted to talk a little bit about a match from King of Pro Wrestling.
Yes, the triple threat match for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship between Kota Ibushi, Kenny Omega, and Cody Rhodes. Another hot take, but maybe not so hot as time goes on. But as of now, that's my best match of the year. The story told in the ring from bell to bell was incredible. The friendship of the three and the different levels of friendship between the three were all on display. Kenny and Kota didn't touch for the longest time. And the very first time they touched, Kenny tried to deliver Kota a one-winged angel. And Cody Rhodes is just kind of in the background and the look of shock on his face. All the facial features, the communication back and forth, like Cody Rhodes basically forcing Kenny Omega to help him attack Kota at one point because they double teamed Cody for a long time, and Cody eventually is like, "Come on, you're my friend too." And it was just I don't have enough time to get into it, but the two matches that I recommend both of you watch are this match and then the 2002 Edge and Eddie Guerrero match. All three of you have to see those matches.
I watched this match already.
Oh, you watched the triple threat?
I watched the whole.
The whole
thing.
What was your opinion on it? Since
well, and it's because apparently this is the third time ever that the IWGP Heavyweight Championship was contested in a three-way, and I'm kind of glad that it's so few and far between because this was an excellent match. Because not only storytelling, but the philosophy between all three characters and just the relationship that each of them have and how they all differ, and how Cody's like the weird man out where he just kind of inserted himself into a match that Kenny and Kota promised each other to have, the just one-on-one, and Cody slips in like a snake and gets to try and have a third belt around his waist. It was great, and when you break two tables in one match, you know you did something good.
And even the end of the match too, where Kenny was like, "I'm not going to say anything until all three of us can stand on our feet together," and the unity that they showed afterwards, after that battle, just to solidify Team Elite, the Bullet Club Elite, and their new feud with OGs. This is really fun.
And I like when he says, "I love you, Cody. I love your dog too."
Yeah, that was the best part of that. I forgot about that.
You always
and Cody popped for that. That was great.
It's like, I love my dog too.
So where do you guys think this is going?
Definitely, I haven't seen the match, but just from what it seems to be, what I see like on Twitter and stuff I read from being the Elite, because I'm still not caught up on that, but it's definitely feeling like it's Elite versus Bullet Club OG's Firing Squad.
Cool stuff.
It's kind of, the weight is a lot more in Bullet Club OG's favor, especially with their 4 new members: Robbie Eagles, Jado, and Jay White.
There you go.
Jay White's incredible too. By the way.
Yes, he really is.
His performance on that pay-per-view was awesome too.
And I'm looking forward to the Tanahashi and Omega match at Wrestle Kingdom. That's going to be good.
Oh man, lots of exciting stuff coming up, especially in New Japan. I can't wait to check out this match, and Andre, especially if you're saying it's the best of the year so far. So, lots of high accolades for that. That about wraps things up. You can get more from us on social media.
Yep, find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and catch up on demand on YouTube at the Schmozcast.
That's right. All right, catch us next week right here, 8 p.m. on 103.5 The Sun, WLSP LP, Sunbury, Wisconsin.